In their purest form, both science and spirituality seek truth. The reality is that both of these fields are influenced by many different factors, be it money, power, control, even the desire to impose a particular worldview on a demographic or a population. We see that in both scientific dogma and religious dogma. Most of us are familiar with religious dogma. We're less familiar with scientific dogma and the way that particular assumptions about the nature of reality have infiltrated culture to such a degree we just believe they're true. We don't question them. My inspiration with quantum physics is that it challenges directly a particular worldview, a particular ideology that invalidates spirituality. An ideology that argues there is no room for anything beyond the physical, that matter is all that exists and consciousness somehow miraculously emerges from physical processes. The significance here isn't to argue that quantum physics alone suggests the existence of God or the existence of spirituality. The inspiration for me is knowing that even science shows that this rigid view of materialism, what we might call reductionist materialism, is inaccurate. When you factor in the subjective experience, thousands upon thousands of years of wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the inner experience of consciousness, of the ability to connect, the possibility of mystical experience, the emergence of myth and symbolism. When you incorporate all of this into a holistic model of reality, quantum physics acts as the most beautiful affirmation of a type of universe in which consciousness is primary, or at least a significant mover of reality and of matter. I won't dive into the details of quantum theory. I'm quite clearly not a scientist or a theoretical physicist, but my interest lies mainly in what does this field demonstrate and what is the significance. Most people growing up in Western culture, myself included, have inherited a worldview that is unquestioned. The fact that we've conflated unscientific with untrue says it all. If something's unscientific, if it cannot be verified in a very precise way, through a very precise method, it's assumed that that thing cannot be valid in a sense. Now that thing, when the ultimate thing in God or the cosmos, creates a fundamental issue. It suggests that science is going to have all the answers, that one day there's going to be some objective, verifiable conclusion made about the nature of reality. These conundrums are not new, and they're not only exclusive to Eastern philosophy. There have been many Western philosophers that have challenged this. One in particular, Max Weber, criticized in the early 1900s the age of disenchantment. Weber could see that the way that we were pedestaling reason, the intellect, and the scientific method, all qualities that came from the age of enlightenment, had started to take away the magic of existence. Even the word magic now, unless you're into the occult, has this assumption of being somehow infantile. You know, the idea of magical thinking, that of course these experiences or assumptions about reality are unscientific and untrue, that we now know the true explanation for these kinds of phenomena. As a result of disenchantment, most of us, myself included, can struggle intellectually to open up to spiritual experiences or mystical experiences. Be it synchronicities, be it experiences of oneness, be it inner experiences or knowing or a direct connection with reality, a subjective insight that we then use and compare to a point of reference, a worldview that we have, and we decide whether it's possible or not. To various degrees, we may question our own sanity based upon scientific dogma, based upon what we've inherited as almost a checklist of what is possible. What quantum physics does is it gives room. It offers a bridge between these rigid, outdated models of reality that say matter is all that exists, and the more esoteric inner experiences, with consciousness being primary, those seen in Vedic philosophy and various forms of Western mysticism. We have discoveries such as quantum entanglement, where two particles, once bonded, can be separated across time and space, in theory, the other side of the universe, and yet resonate together, where information transcends space and time, as if there's another dimension to reality that can appear anywhere across the spatial temporal domain. And then there's quantum superposition, where the state of a quantum system isn't defined until observed, also known as the observer effect, the way that we're always influencing through measurement the state of a quantum system. If you've watched Oppenheimer, you'll remember the significance of the Bhagavad Gita. And most of the founding fathers of quantum physics were interested in mysticism. They were fascinated by Vedanta. And that was because these insights from the subjective experience, from the science of consciousness from the inside out, were coming up with the same revolutionary realizations about the interconnected nature of reality, of the fact that consciousness is not local and it transcends the individual. Werner Heisenberg even said that after conversations about Indian philosophy, some of the ideas of quantum physics that had seemed so crazy suddenly made much more sense. I had a recent podcast discussion with Harold Atmansprache that looked at dual aspect monism and the deep structure of meaning. That's just one of a number of theories around the nature of reality emerging from the discoveries of quantum physics. David Bohm's implicate and explicate order suggests that reality operates more like a hologram, where what we see and the dimension that is the observable, the dimension that has been scrutinized so much through the scientific method, emerges or is projected from an implicate order. This implicate order, this sense of something invisible that is shaping the visible reality, also links all the way back to Plato's theory of form and the idea of archetypes. Many people don't realize that synchronicity, Carl Jung's famous theory, which has now become integrated in spiritual circles, not least because it's a direct experience that people have frequently. It's a direct experience that challenges this outdated, rigid model of reality that we have. It challenges it so directly that we either have to challenge the model and let go of that and expand beyond it, or we just dismiss our experience. When we embrace the quantum potential, the paradigm shift that happens with science, we can give an intellectual green light to allow for these experiences to actually again return to an empowered sense of inquiring into the nature of reality without strict conclusions. If we let go of this weight, this worldview that weighs heavy in the sense of invalidating experience, what then emerges as true? That's what I'm interested in. That's what fascinates me. I think there's a significant percentage of people who, like me and my past self, dismiss spirituality because it wasn't scientific, because it didn't fit what I deemed was true, without realizing that what I was deeming as true was an inherited ideology. As we evolve collectively, we have to upgrade the consensus reality that we have. It's been over 100 years since quantum physics upended classical physics, and yet mainstream consensus reality and the theories of reality that are given the most merit still haven't integrated a spiritual dimension. Putting aside philosophy, putting aside collective transformation, if you have the residue of this worldview, just remember that even science demonstrates that there are forces and dimensions that are invisible that influence the physical. Allow yourself to loosen the grip of that worldview and inquire and open your mind to these potentials. Don't fall for ideological traps. Don't make quick conclusions. Begin to discern from subjective experience and take on knowledge when it feels relevant, when you've run it through your intellectual rigor and you can say, oh, this does fit or this doesn't fit. Harold Atmanspracher rightly pointed out that we don't want to get rid of, minimize, invalidate conventional physics. Conventional physics has created so much of modern culture, technological revolution, infrastructure that has allowed for globalization, the very technology that I'm using now to communicate this message. We don't want to invalidate it, but just to expand that these discoveries do not define reality. And actually, there's more of a bridge between science and spirituality than first meets the eye.